Today, I'd like to share with you the most charismatic hiking trail that I've ever been on. It's called the Ozette Trail, specifically the Cape Alva Loop. It's pretty easy to find. First, you land on the planet Earth. Mosey on over to the North American continent. Head west, you hit the state of Washington. Then find Ozette Lake on the coast. While hiking this trail, you'll see old-growth forest, dense jungle, open grassland, swamps, and finally a really big pond we like to call the Pacific Ocean. The first challenge this trail will offer is trying to make it to the trailhead. The largest cities closest to it are over 2.5 hours driving distance away from it. So you could either leave really early or spend the night at Lake Ozette. You can either stay in the campground or stay at the Lost Resort. This is what their rooms look like. Here's your water, your formal dining area, and your sleeping arrangement. Bring your own sleeping bag. But before going to bed at night, check to make sure there's no large black beetles under the pillow. Ah, fond memories. Okay, let's get to the hike. It looks like the parking lot's capable of holding about 100 cars. This is what it looked like at 7 o'clock in the morning. Just off the parking lot, you'll find this information kiosk. This is where the government will tell you nothing in life is free. If you want to hike on this trail, it'll cost you 25 bucks, but it's good for 7 days. After you've paid the man his money, you go across a little bridge, and you'll find a very nice information pavilion. After you're done there, go across this bridge, which crosses the river leaving Lake Ozette. On the other side of the bridge, you'll see this sign telling you, if you have your trusty walking companion with you, turn around and go home. Okay, let's get started. We start out on a gravel trail going through the woods. The trail soon splits. According to a ranger we spoke to, the Sand Point Trail off to the left is the more popular of the two trails. In this video, we're going to go right. That's the Cape Alva Trail. If you walk all three of these trails, each being 3 miles long, you'll walk about 9 miles. Keep in mind the accessibility for the loop trail depends on the tides. Soon you'll find out the gravel will be reinforced with wood planks. Then you'll have some wood bridges, even some roots. Finally, you'll come to the first of the boardwalk. This part of the boardwalk has been replaced with the plastic boards. I'm sure they're going to last much longer than the originals. As you're walking, you'll see some neat things on the side of the trail. There's many species of mushrooms and even wildlife. This little guy is about 20 feet away. He never even looked up at us. There are plenty of gorgeous ponds. This one stretch of boardwalk is probably over a mile long. If you get tired, they have benches along the route. Take a little rest. But please make sure you keep your eye on the trail. Periodically, there will be a missing board or a nail sticking up or something that will cause you to trip. But considering this is 3 miles in the wilderness, they do a great job of maintaining this trail. Periodically, you'll see little clearings where they've dropped lumber using helicopters. Helicopters. So no wonder why it costs $25 to walk on this trail. Those things aren't cheap to operate. When you get to this long bridge, you're in the bottom of a valley. Now you're going to be faced with quite a little climb. But they were nice enough to provide you with boardwalk steps instead of making you climb up dirt and rocks. Oh, and mud. Here we see hail on the ground from the previous night's hailstorm. You'll soon break out of the forest into a clearing. When this happens, you're halfway there. Keep your eyes open for wildflowers. While you're walking through the clearing, be aware that the trail does have drainage ditches built into it. And you may need to straddle a puddle or two. Eventually, the boardwalk does pick back up again. In wooded areas, keep your eyes out for trees overhead. This one was snapped off at the trunk and just laying there waiting to fall. The old growth is absolutely magnificent. And the old growth moss is pretty cool too. As you near the coast, you'll start seeing ferns and a little bit of swampland. Later in the year, these skunk cabbage leaves will be 3 feet across. Shortly after the swampy area, you'll finally get to see the mighty Pacific Ocean. But you're going to have to drop down a couple 100 feet to get to it. And in some areas, it's quite muddy. But areas like this little field quite make up for it. But here's a warning if you're not from this area. If you see plants that look like this, leave them alone. They're called stinging nettles. The leaves have sharp little hairs on them that when you brush up against them, they inject you with this nasty stuff. It'll leave you a stinging sensation and lots of itching. If you get hit by one, go back to that mud pit you just went through and rub some mud on it to soothe the stinging. This section of the trail drops steeply enough that somebody put a rope in to help you hang on to while you're climbing. Near the bottom, you'll finally come to this creek. Don't worry, there's a convenient way to cross it. You'll go through wide open fields and campground sites. Here's a sign of some of the severe weather they have on the coast. And we finally did it. Elevation, 0 feet. The scenery here is absolutely beautiful. We thought it was interesting that this part of the ocean, the water is red. As it turns out, it's because of this creek. This creek is fed by all the little ponds and streams from the forest. And that water is red because of all the tannins it absorbs from the forest. Well, that's it. I sincerely hope you have as much fun hiking it as we do.